Hello, everybody. Welcome back to TPP. You guys see the thumbnail. They can't tell us nothing. They can't tell us nothing, right? That to me is the wildest thing ever. That they can't tell us nothing. Not a thing. So when a state coroner hands over a dead 18-year-old's body to an independent doctor with his neck organs completely gone, his lungs stripped out, that's not standard operating procedure. That is a wall of silence, which they have been doing. Let's stop pretending that the Jackson County Sheriff's Department and the Mississippi State Examiner are just moving methodically. All the evidence to make a charge or no charge is in. All of it's in. Everything is in to be able to make a charge. And let me ask the FBI, who supposedly swooped in to oversee this case, where is federal oversight when essential physical evidence literally disappears before a second autopsy can be done? Is the FBI here to investigate a crime, or are they here to manage the public outrage and babysit the local department that rushed to call this a drowning before the body was even cold? How does a state pathologist keep the neck, the larynx, the hyoid bone, the lungs, and fail to give a single clear explanation to the family and expect the country to stay quiet about the lies and the things they may be covering up? Either the Federal Bureau forces full, unredacted forensic disclosure right now, because all the stuff is in, all the evidence is on his body, his person. They have completed their examination, toxicology report, all of that. Either the Bureau forces that full forensic disclosure, or they're actively helping shield an incompetent state system from accountability. Now the sealed autopsy is in. Now they got a wall of silence. Let's lay out the plain facts, shall we? The official state autopsy is done. The toxicology tests are done. But instead of giving those results to the public, or even to the parents who raised Nolan Wells for 18 years, District Attorney McIlrath, her name is Angel McIlrath or something like that, locked those in a vault. They claim nobody can see them until a grand jury meets behind closed doors. Think about what that actually means on the ground for all of us. While the state locks away its findings about Nolan Wells' death, the family had to go out and hire their own independent medical examiner, Dr. Roger Mitchell, funded by private backing from Colin Kaepernick. Dr. Mitchell, flew in to examine Nolan's body. But when he unzipped that body bag, he wasn't given a complete body. The state pathologist had already gutted the body. The trachea was gone. The cartilage, the larynx cartilage was gone. The hyoid bone was gone. The exact bone doctors checked to see if someone was choked or strangled was missing. The state kept those for themselves because those neck structures were stripped out. Dr. Mitchell could not check the airway. He could not check the lungs to see if water was inside of those. He could not check if Nolan was breathing when he went into the water. or if he was already unconscious. And what did Mr. Mitchell do? Dr. Mitchell find? He found a 12 by 8-inch area of red tissue discoloration on the back of Nolan's head, right over the occipital bone. It wasn't a surface cut, and the skull wasn't cracked, but the tissue deep under the scalp was discolored. Dr. Mitchell plainly stated that this was a significant finding requiring real explanation, a finding the state's preliminary routine work didn't bother to detail. Why didn't they bother to detail that? Because he was handed a stripped down body and no state records. Dr. Mitchell had to list both the cause of death and the manner of death as undetermined. He explicitly wrote that he cannot rule out foul play, nor accidental factors. So look up the setup. The state of Mississippi holds the complete physical evidence and the full autopsy report, but hides it under seal, lock and seal. The grieving family gets handed down the leftovers. They get handed the leftovers and has to guess what happened to their child. Dr. Mitchell has to guess, and he can't put guesses in a report. The local authorities have the nerve to call this a standard procedure. That's what they're saying. They're saying everything they did was standard procedure. And I'm not standing here accusing a specific person of murder today. I'm accusing this law enforcement system of keeping the public in the dark. I'm accusing them of treating simple public transparency like it's a threat to their authority. When you force a black family in Mississippi to hire national lawyers like Ben Crump and bring in civil rights leaders like Al Sharpton just to get basic paperwork done about your son, you ain't doing justice. You're building a wall. You're building a wall so you can cover for whoever did this to Nolan. If the state autopsy shows this was a tragedy, accidental drowning, unseal the report today and prove it. Unseal it. Unseal the records today and prove that Nolan was drowned. Nolan drowned. Prove that he drowned. If this was such a clear-cut drowning, why is it that y'all won't unseal those records and show them to us? If it raises hard questions about what happened on that boat, unseal the report and let us see the report. Keeping that paper locked up only tells the public one thing. Somebody is protecting something or somebody. That's what that tells me. Okay? Now, talking about that CTO and the timeline gaps. Now let's examine the timeline and the audio the local officials tried to ignore until reporters started digging. On July 4th, Nolan Wells went out to Horn Island, a remote, uninhabited strip of land off the Mississippi coast. He was on a boat with his friends of white peers. Nolan was the only black teenager in that group. Around 4 p.m. that afternoon, somebody on that boat called a private boat towing service named CTO. The caller told the dispatcher that their bilge pump had stopped working. My understanding is you have 2 bilge pumps on the boat. And if one doesn't work, then the other works. So you weren't in any kind of danger, okay? Of drowning, of sinking. But then I could be wrong. But that's what I was told. Okay, they said the boat was taking on water near the west end of Horn Island, and they needed a tow back to shore. The dispatcher asked how many people were on board. The caller said there were about 7 on board and that everybody was on board and everybody was in good health. Read that again. At 4 p.m. on July 4th, the person on the phone told CTO that everyone was on boat. Everyone was fine. Shortly after that, an older relative, Grandpa, tied to the boat owner, stepped in and canceled the tow request altogether, claiming they found another boat to help them out. Even before that young boy got done talking to CTO, Grandpa had already called the National Guard and told him he didn't need no tow. Why is that? Before they even got done calling, which tells me the kids called Grandpa. ahead of time. The kids called grandpa ahead of time. Okay. Yet Nolan never came home that night. His body wasn't found until July 6th, floating off the west tip of Horn Island, found by the U.S. Park Service. Why didn't they find his body on the 5th? Why didn't they see him floating in the water on the 5th? What happened? I don't understand what's going on. Cajun Navy should maybe have an answer to that. Okay. He was found by the U.S. Park Service. Okay. That sea tow phone call is now one of the most disputed pieces of evidence in Mississippi. Independent audio specialists and online listeners have run enhanced filters over the background noise. Some people claim that they hear background noises saying Nolan's name, saying "wake up, stay, check his chest," or asking is he dead. I personally heard Nolan. I personally heard that word, his name, which tells me he was on the boat or around the boat at some particular point during that phone call. He was around the boat, in the water, whatever, while they were making that phone call. To me, I'm convinced of it. He was there. Nolan was there when they were making that phone call. Whether he was alive or not, I don't know. Because they called his name. And I clearly heard, I didn't clearly hear nothing else, but I heard them say Nolan. Let's be completely factual and plain about this. The official basic state transcript does not confirm those background words. Ben Crump's legal team has hired top-tier forensic audio engineers to clear up the raw audio file and analyze every single decimal. Until those forensic experts finish their report, those background whispers are unverified claims. But here's what is 100% verified and undeniable. A call was made claiming the boat was sinking. The caller explicitly claimed everyone was safe on the boat at 4 p.m. Nolan Wells was missing, and his body was pulled out of the water 2 days later in the exact same area. Search organizations that were out on the water, including the United Cajun Navy, have publicly pointed out huge holes in that timeline. What happened between 3 p.m. when Nolan was last seen alive on the beach and 4:30 p.m. when that boat pulled away? Did Nolan stay on that island voluntarily? Was he left behind? Was he already in the water when the phone call was made to sea tow? When independent search teams and forensic pathologists are publicly pointing out massive missing pieces in the official story. You all see these people on this island. Y'all see this picture. It was hundreds of people on that island. Why is it that nobody has any videotape? There's people with their phones in their hand right now videotaping stuff. Why don't nobody have a picture of Nolan? Nobody? Nobody got no picture? Nobody got no stills? Nobody got no videotape? Nobody? So when an independent search teams and forensic pathologists are publicly pointing out massive missing pieces in that official story, it's not a conspiracy theory that we're saying that. That is a bad police work and severe public negligence. Why wasn't the sheriff, that Sheriff Ledbetter or whoever his name is, I can't remember his name, why wasn't that sheriff's department, why hasn't they released the clean forensically audited audio file of that sea tow call to the public? Why are there still hour-long blanks in the official timeline weeks after that event? When every new piece of information creates 10 new questions instead of giving one solid answer. People have every right to demand accountability. Yes, they do. Now look at how law enforcement, the local law enforcement, handled this from day one. How did they handle this from day one? Before the toxicology test came back from the lab, before the physical evidence was fully gathered, and before an independent pathologist even looked at the body, even before Colin Kaepernick paid for the independent coroner, the Jackson County Sheriff's Office went in front of the news fucking cameras and told the public they had no reason to suspect foul play. In South Mississippi, when law enforcement says that early on, it's not neutral news. It's a clear message. It tells the public, nothing to see here, move along. This was just a tragic swimming accident. Before anything came back, any forensic, pathologist, lung report, toxicology report, before anything came back, that sheriff took his monkey ass in front of the camera talking about there was nothing to see here. That was an attempt to settle the story in the public's mind before all the facts were even on the table. They were trying to set a narrative from the beginning. Now, under heavy national scrutiny, the sheriff's office says the case is still open and active. They say they're interviewing people and gathering evidence, but guess who is still running the core investigation? The same local sheriff department. And guess who holds all the key files? The local district attorney behind locked doors. We have to ask the straightforward question. Who does this silence help? The silence around the autopsy, the silence around the investigation, the silence around any arrests made, the silence around the condition of Nolan's body. All of these things are being kept silent, kept away from the public. Does keeping the autopsy sealed help the grieving parents who are trying to figure out how their 18-year-old son died? No. Does withholding the full physical records help independent doctors get to the truth? No. The only people helped by this secrecy are local institutions and political officials who don't want hard, uncomfortable questions asked in the public eye. When a system uses official procedure as a reason to hide the facts, the procedure stops being a tool for justice. It becomes a shield to protect the status quo. Black families across this American South have watched local authorities use that exact same language and exact same shield for generation after generation. Now let's talk about the federal government and the FBI. God only knows I don't want to talk about the FBI with that goofy Cash Patel in charge. Lord only knows I don't want to talk about them. But the FBI is officially involved in this case. Why? Because Horn Island is a part of the Gulf Island National Seashore, which makes it federal land. On top of that, the federal agents stepped in after people made interstate threats online surrounding the case, leading to actual arrests. Why didn't they arrest people who threatened Nolan's mom? But they arrested people who made threats to Warren's mom. Make it make sense. Make it make sense, y'all. So the FBI is physically in the room with everything. But let's be brutally honest about what assisting actually means versus what real federal oversight looks like. Standing in the background while a local sheriff's department keeps the main forensic evidence locked up is not oversight. Assisting a local department is not the same as taking over the case, issuing federal subpoenas, and forcing state pathologists to hand over every missing organ, every tissue sample, and every page of their secret report. Right now, the Federal Bureau is acting like a bystander. They're letting the local officials control the timeline. The FBI basically is not involved. They only did the arrest of the threats. That's all the FBI has done. They're not involved with the case. Okay? They're letting the local officials control the timeline, hold the evidence, and hide behind a grand jury setup. So I'm asking the FBI directly. I'm calling your ass out directly, FBI. What is your actual job there? Why the fuck did you step in? If you didn't see any wrongdoing, you didn't see anything that was out of the ordinary, why did you bring your ass down there? Just to listen to people make threats to a judge? Are you here to make sure a real, unbiased federal investigation takes place? Or are you just here to monitor public outrage, keeping the peace, and help the local authorities manage the story until the news cycle moves on? What's your job down here, FBI? If the FBI has federal jurisdiction over federal land, then use that authority, goddammit. Force the state to hand over the unredacted autopsy files. Force them to explain why neck organs were kept back from an independent pathologist. If the FBI won't do that, then their presence isn't bringing justice to Nolan. It's just giving cover to a broken system. Every single piece of evidence in this case is now being pushed towards a grand jury. The district attorney says the only once law enforcement finishes gathering the files, statements, witness statements, sealed state autopsy, toxicology report, they will go behind the closed doors of a grand jury and present their case. Grand juries are secret by design. Legally, that secrecy is supposed to protect victims and prevent witness tampering. But when a community already has zero faith in local law enforcement, that closed door secrecy feels like a trap. It feels like another place to bury the truth where the public cannot inspect it. Think about the two ways this can play out. Let's think about the two ways that this can play out. First, the grand jury issues an indictment. Charges get filed, and the case finally moves into an open courtroom. Second, if the grand jury issues a no bill, meaning they decide not to charge anybody, the case gets shut down. And if the district attorney keeps that state autopsy sealed, even after a no bill, even after the grand jury decides they're not going to take file no charges, the family and the public might never see what the state pathologist actually found. That is unfucking acceptable. An 18-year-old black kid goes out on a boat with his friends on 4th of July and comes home in a damn body bag. That's unacceptable for y'all not to release those files. If his family shouldn't have to wait months, his family shouldn't have to wait months or years just to read a basic medical report about how their son died. And you know that medical examiner person knows how Nolan died. I keep saying it and I'm going to keep saying it. If that boy drowned, just basic ordinary drowning, they would have threw that in our face already. We would have known that that boy drowned. I checked the lungs, everything, he drowned. Boom, threw it out in our face and been done with it. Because he didn't drown. He didn't drown, goddammit. Something else happened to that boy. Okay? The public shouldn't be told to just trust the system when the same system handed over an incomplete body to an independent examiner. Why the hell should I trust what y'all say? Y'all didn't want to hand over the most critical pieces to another examiner. You didn't want to give him the throat, the neck, the hyoid bone, the lungs. You didn't want to give that independent contractor. You didn't want to get, and Dr. Mitchell is one of the best in this country. He is one of the top experts in this country. He would have come up with what killed Nolan Wales. Y'all did not want to hand that over to him. Mississippi coroner did not want to hand the neck and the lungs over to that independent autopsy guy. But they want us to trust them. Trust the process only works when the process is transparent. Only works if it's transparent. Right now, this process is clear as mud. So we're going to summarize exactly where things stand today. I do not have the sealed state autopsy report. Neither do you. Neither does nobody else. I do not have the final cleaned up forensic audio analysis of that sea toll. Neither do you. I do not have a complete gap-free timeline of what happened on Horn Island between 3 and 4:30 p.m. on July 4th. Neither do you. What we do have are solid, undeniable facts. We have an independent medical doctor, Dr. Roger Mitchell, stating on the record that key neck structures were missing, that a 12 by 8 inch discoloration or area on Nolan's head was unexplained, and that he cannot rule out foul play. We have a state government apparatus that finished its official testing and locked the results in a vault where nobody can get a hold of them. We have an emergency distress call from a boat taking on water, paired, which was not really a life or death situation, but we got grandpa calling. We have an emergency distress call from a boat taking on water, paired with a timeline full of unexplained gaps and unexplained voices on that 911 call. And we have federal agencies sitting in the room without forcing full public disclosure. The FBI is sitting in the room without forcing this Mississippi coroner authorities to release the results. So we are done asking nicely, what are they hiding? What are you hiding? If the answer is truly nothing, then prove it. Prove it. Unseal the state autopsy report today. Release the full forensic analysis of the sea toll today. The sea audio today. Explain the missing neck structures. Account for every minute on the island. Show this family the full medical findings and show the American public the full evidence. Until that happens, this investigation remains under seal and under fire. And we not stopping until we get the truth. Nobody's stopping. Just imagine if Christine, Nolan's mom, had not called Ben Crump. Them people would have just told Christine and them that their son died 2 days after it happened. They would have just told them that their son died. They never would have got this 911 tape. They never would have got these contrasting stories. They never would have got none of the videotape. They never would have got these friends coming out saying conflicting stories. They never would have got none of this if she wouldn't have hired Ben Crump. See, Ben Crump got a role to play. He got a role to play. They would have just steamrolled that mama, told Christina that your son just died of an accidental drowning. I'm sorry. And then they would have expected her to just take it. That's what half of y'all don't get. They would have just steamrolled. They would have put that woman, they would have told her a lie. Just like that sheriff brought his ass out there talking about, oh, it ain't nothing but a basic drowning. If it was a basic drowning, then show us that it was a basic drowning. Release the records. Show us that it was a basic drowning. Show us that he had water in his lungs. Show us that was the truth. The sheriff came out there on the second day and said he drowned. Why ain't y'all showing us that? The least y'all could do is release his lung records and say, here's the lung. We're not releasing everything, but we're releasing the lung records. We're releasing the study on the lungs, and the lungs had water in it. You could release that. And then that would shut down half of the shit that's going on. But he didn't die of no drowning. That's the whole thing. They were lying, trying to get Christina out of their face. No, we just gonna tell her that he drowned. So we gonna do, we just gonna tell her that. That's what that sheriff did. The sheriff is negligent at least, and criminal negligent at the worst. No. Y'all tried to shove that down that woman's throat, thinking she was just going to accept. That's why Ben Crump was hired, because she knew her son was an excellent swimmer. She knew her son wouldn't have been involved in any kind of nefarious activity. She knew her son. Something happened to her son. And she went and got Ben Crump. And that's why Ben Crump was hired, to make sure that they got the truth about her son. So most of y'all can shut your ass up about Ben Crump. Ben Crump, a race hustler. Ben Crump just want money. Don't nobody give a damn. As long as he bring results, as long as he bring the truth to that mama and that daddy, as long as he bring satisfaction and he brings comfort to that family, I don't care who pay him, how much money he want. As long as she get the answers that she needs. As long as they get the answer that they need. And the FBI just coming down there just to arrest somebody because they made threats. Arrest them people that have been making threats about Christine. Arrest them people that have been threatening her. Then we can talk. Otherwise, y'all go and take your ass back to Washington, D.C. and clean up the mess that you made there. Don't come down to Mississippi doing nothing if you ain't going to help. If you ain't going to help. There was a death on federal land. Horn Island is federal land. Why aren't you all investigating? Why aren't you guys demanding an independent autopsy? You FBI people, why ain't y'all doing it? Okay. Why didn't that Mississippi coroner send those lungs and the neck and all of that to that independent coroner? Why didn't they do that? Why did they hold that back? Because they know that he didn't drown, and they were trying to cover it up, and they thought we would leave it alone, but that's not the case. That's not the case. And so this is where we are in the investigation. Everything is in. All the evidence is in. They still have interviews to do. I'm assuming they have to interview people. They have to do what they got to do. But now this is going to be in the hands of the grand jury. All of this reporting, toxicology report, it's up to the grand jury. It's up to the lawyers or whoever presents this to the grand jury. It's up to them to decide how they're going to present it. Are they going to present it as an accidental drowning? Or are they going to present it as foul play? Because there could be foul play and never be able to prove the foul play. It could be just an accidental drowning. We don't know. But what dispels that is that phone call to that CETO. That dispels the fact that it was just an accidental drowning. That is what, for me, convinced me that it was more than just an accidental drowning. That CETO call. And grandpa calling in the middle of them actually calling for a tow. Grandpa called. That tells me that there was already foul play afoot. So can this DA or whoever make the transition? Can this DA make the case against whoever? Is there a case to be made against somebody? Who knows? This could be all a accidental drowning. It could be all an accidental death. It could be an overdose. It could be any number of things. But we, as the public who have invested in this, the mother needs to know what the truth is, and we need to know what the truth is now. Because what has transpired is distrust. We distrust Mississippi. We distrust whatever you guys got to say. So if you're going to come out here, you better come correct. However it needs to be said. And you need to tell us the timelines, how it happened, if he died accidentally, and see, here's the thing. If he died accidentally, and they were witnesses to it, and they threw his body in the water, they're still guilty of something. Y'all do understand that, right? You do understand that they're guilty of something. If they threw his body in the water, they saw him accidentally drown, they didn't touch him at all, and he died. You do know they're guilty of something if that occurred, right? Y'all please hit the like and the subscribe button. I'd appreciate the content, the engagement. Please and thank you. Please hit the like button. So they are guilty of something, even if they watched him. And I'm even willing to believe that. I'm willing to believe Nolan died all on his own. Y'all didn't touch him. But y'all threw him in the water. Y'all threw him in the water. Or y'all saw him drown and y'all did nothing. Y'all didn't call the police. Y'all didn't did nothing. Nobody jumped in the water, tried to save him. Maybe somebody did try to save him. Maybe that he jumped, maybe he fell into the water and then he drowned, or he saw to drown and then y'all pulled him out and then y'all tried to save him. Nolan, no! Check his chest, blah, blah, blah. Any number of that. I'm open to any number of those things. I'm not saying that they killed him. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is you all know what happened to him. And knowing what happened to him, you still let him die out there by himself. Or there were nefarious things that happened and y'all know what happened to him that way too. Okay. So either way it go, this is my stand. My stand is they know. Those kids that were on that boat, those 7 kids that were on that boat during that tow call, they know what happened to Noah. They may not have done anything to him, but they know what happened to him. And it's easier to cover 7 people not saying anything as opposed to a whole boat, a whole beach full of people, right? 7 people witnessing Nolan dying on a boat and then deciding to throw him overboard because we don't want to get in trouble. I can understand that. I can even see that. But that still means you did something illegal. That still means you did something illegal. Okay? And this is what we have to find out. It could be perfectly innocent what happened. Nolan died. We looked up and he was dead. We didn't know what happened. Why didn't y'all take him to the doc? Why didn't y'all get him to mainland? Get him to the hospital? Why didn't y'all do that? I truly believe y'all know what happened to him. Y'all were there when it happened to him. Maybe y'all didn't do anything to him. Maybe you didn't touch him. But you all know what happened to that boy. That's just my personal thought. Whether you did anything to him or not, it doesn't matter. If you did something, you deserve to go to jail. If you threw him in the water and after the fact, after he died and you covered it up, you still deserve to go to jail. Because there's no way all of those people on that island right there that you see, there's no way all of them damn people don't know. Somebody don't know what happened to Nolan. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. So y'all know what happened to this boy. Somebody did. Let me read the comment. Please hit the like and share, subscribe. The like and subscribe button, please and thank you. I'd appreciate it, appreciate it. Let me read some of the comments. Oh shit. Okay. Hey Triple X. Hey, are you still in the chat, Triple X? Let me know if you're still in the chat. I will throw down the come up and talk about it. I will throw down the come up and talk about it if anybody's in the chat. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. Wait a minute. I put it out there anyway. You have to copy and paste this. You have to copy and paste this into your browser, and then the browser will bring you here. If you're still in the chat, I'll put it in the chat if anybody want to come up and say something. That would be amazing. Also, we have our super chat button available. It would be amazing if you felt like this content was good enough and you thought you wanted to hear more information about this. Please hit the super chat. I appreciate super chats too. Yes. It says, how did the phone get to the house, but he didn't? I believe that there's a couple theories. One, he just forgot about his phone. He put it on the boat, meant to go back and get it, but he didn't. And it was on the boat. Two, he's a young adult. He's a young guy. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to leave their phone. So 9 times out of 10, they're not going to leave their phone. So 3, something happened to him on the boat and they just forgot that they had it, and then they took it to the house. And then again, they could have took it to the house because there were pictures and things on it that incriminated whoever was on that boat that night. Maybe his phone documented all his activities. Maybe all his activities were documented and they wanted to erase it. Who knows? And according to mom, Snapchat and all that was erased. Okay, so who knows? I believe something was on the phone. Okay, how did Grandpa cancel the tow while he was still on the phone? That's what I want to know. Why and how did Grandpa cancel the tow? That was weird as hell. She is calling the tow. The tow gets on the phone and the tow says, I don't know what's going on. Some guy called me up in the middle of blah, blah, blah and told me that they didn't need no tow. So if they didn't need a tow, that means that the bilge pump was stopping was not that serious. That's what that tells me. If Grandpa called you and told you not to worry about a tow, that tells me the bilge pump was not either not that serious or it wasn't serious at all. That's what that tells me. Okay. Why would he need to call and cancel? Why wouldn't he call his grandchild and tell his grandchild not to call the tow? Let me hurry up and call the tow people and get them up off our case. Make sure they don't come and get the kids. Make sure they don't go and get the boat. Yeah, why? Why was Grandpa doing that? I don't know. That's weird. That's real weird. Where is the deceased child's body organ? The Mississippi coroner had him. She kept him. The Mississippi coroner kept him away from the Colin Kaepernick independent investigator. She kept him away from them. They were supposed to be sent with the other organs to the independent forensic pathologist, but they kept them. They didn't give them to the independent person. Okay, so they have all the report on those organs. The Mississippi has all the report on these organs. I don't know if it's a conspiracy, but it's suspicious. The actions of the Mississippi coroner person and the sheriff, their actions and thoughts are suspicious. You see. Is it funny how all the race baiters stopped flapping their guns about this case? The race baiter. But it's not about race. It's about accountability for those young boys. They just happen to be white. Nobody, not Ben Crump, not Christina, not Elroy, not nobody came out and said anything about it being race. This was all a projection for the people that's on the internet. That's all that they wanted to do, stir up that trouble. Ben Crump and Christina have been clear from the beginning about this being race or whatever. Mississippi has a history of covering up the death of black boys in that state. Period, point blank. That's the reason. They have a history of covering up the deaths of young boys in that country, in that state. Okay. Two, if they show the results and it's not what the majority of the public wants to hear, mayhem may erupt. So I understand. Yes, I understand that too. I understand that too. I get it. I completely get it. They want to be sure. They want irrefutable truth. Irrefutable truth about what happened to Nolan. Irrefutable. Okay. But my question, why didn't you send the lungs, the hyoid bone, and the neck? Why didn't you send those to the independent autopsy guy? Why didn't you give that to them so he could make his own determination? I am sure that that guy in Washington, that independent pathologist, has dealt with different conditions of the body from a variety of deaths. He can extract the data. He doesn't have a fish. He doesn't have a dog in the fight. So his results would have been completely independent if he would have gotten all of the material that he needed. He would have been completely independent. Okay. So that's why it was important for this Mississippi pathology lady to send all of that stuff to the independent contractor, but she didn't. She kept it. Okay. When you want to go on a nice boat ride, you ain't getting me in no water, black, white, Mexican, I don't care. You don't get me on no little boats like that, ever. Okay, because that's not a red flag at all of sideways shift. I have no clue what you mean by that. Let me see. Let me see. You can talk about this for the next year and nothing will ever become of it. Us white people run things, so you're wasting your time. I'm happy to know that you feel like that. That's the whole point. The whole point is to make sure people like you are not in charge of these kind of investigations. That's the whole point. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that, Boris Edels. Okay. Let's hope we have more Nolans before the end of the summer. Let's hope we have more Nolans by the end of the summer. Are you threatening black folks, Boris Edels? Y'all need to take down his name. Please take down his name of this goofy human being who just wrote this down. We gonna stop this. We gonna stop this nonsense on my channel for real, for real. We ain't gonna have goofy people over here talking about murdering folks. We're not gonna have goofy people over here saying stuff just to be talking. Y'all got his handle. Y'all report him. Do whatever you got to do because this person is right out here threatening folks. Okay, this person right here is out here threatening folks with this thing. Now I fear for my life because I don't know what this person gonna do. This person is in my chat talking crazy to me. I don't know what this person gonna do. Somebody take the name down and do some reporting, do some digging. Don't come over here talking crazy on my live. Don't do that. Well, I don't play them kind of games. Not at all. So please hit the like and subscribe button. I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you guys coming out for this presentation. We still are awaiting what the grand jury comes up with. We don't know what the grand jury will come up with. It is now in the grand jury's hands to either indict someone or not indict someone. What are the chances of somebody getting indicted? Somebody please put it in the comment section. What are the chances, do you think? Do you think that anybody going to be indicted? Do you think that it's just going to be blown over? Okay. The person withholding vital information for the autopsy is a red flag. Yeah, it's suspicious to me too. TCW is very suspicious to me. Report me all you want. Won't make a difference. White people run this also. You goofy, ableist, you're goofy. Like I said, y'all take his name down because he might be on other platforms talking crazy, like on TikTok. Yes, please. So we don't know what. We don't know what. Please put in the comments what you think they're going to do for the grand jury. What do you think? What do you think about the 911 call? That is what sealed the deal for a lot of people, that 911 call. Can we believe that 911 call? But see, like I said, you got experts all over this world who should be able to isolate what was said on that tape. Okay. That you could see what's isolated on that tape. There's experts everywhere that should be able to figure out what happened to that boy, or be able to parse out that stuff that was on that tape. Hopefully we can parse it out with certainty. People can testify to what they hear. Let's hope that's the case. Okay? If that's the case. And then maybe we'll have a better timeline as to what happened to Nolan. Because right now there's a big gaping hole between 4:30 and when they started calling for where Nolan was. All I'm saying is you see all of those people on that boat. Somebody knows what happened to Nolan. Somebody knows. And if nobody comes forward and nobody knows, that tells me that he was on that boat with y'all. And nobody was able to witness what happened to him. If nobody comes forward and say, we didn't see him, that means he was hidden from other people, which means he was on the boat with you guys and something happened. But we never know what's going to happen. We never know until they come back with some kind of information. Yeah, I believe it would be mayhem on this planet. It would be mayhem if they come back and say, oh, it was just a simple drowning. It was nothing to see here. Who knows? Who knows? He says, us white people run everything. You wouldn't be here doing what you're doing if that wasn't the case. What? I dropped a link out there for you to come up and talk stupid. Here you go. Come on up. Come on up. Talk stupid. Yeah, let's hear your voice. Let's hear what else you got to say. Come on up, boy. Come on up. Put that in, paste that in your browser, and then come on up and talk 2-point crazy so we can all hear what you got to say. Why do you keep saying white people run everything, dummy? We're smart enough to figure these things out. Come to the front of the class, talk your shit to the front of the class, or shut the fuck up and stay in the shadows. We white people run everything. Who cares? Who cares? That's something. Tell us something we don't know, Goofy. There's your link. Come to the front of the class. You got 1 minute to click it. You so smart. You know how to come up here. You know how to come up here and talk. Come on up here and talk. You're obviously you're not, because you're wasting your time. Yes, absolutely. This is goofy logic. Goofy logic. Yes. They don't want to come to the front of the class. They don't want to be exposed for the people. These are the people that we got to kick back into the dark shadows of the internet. These are the people we got to kick back to the corners of the earth, because most people don't think like this. Most people are not goofy enough to think like this. Unfortunately, he seems to think he's a better race. Unfortunately, I know that's not the case. We're all equal. But the point is not, nobody wants to get in an argument with goofy people, with goofy logic. But I appreciate you guys. Please hit the like and the subscribe. If you like the content, please give that to me and put something in the comment section about what you think is going to happen next after the FBI came, after they done with the report. Everything is in. Everything is in. What do you think the jury is going to come back with? That's the question. What do you think? So, and I'll see you guys in the next video when I have another video. Please and thank you guys. I appreciate you guys. I do. Please and thank you.